Shadrika was only 5 years old when she was taken away from her mother. She never even knew her father. At that young age, Shadrika had to grow up pretty quickly. In fact, she had to play the role of mother to her brothers and sisters.
I had to grow up really fast. Like, I couldn't stay and go outside and be a little kid or, just do normal stuff that normal kids do when they're little. I had to kind of, make sure my brothers and sisters' hair was done or they had haircuts or, they were looking nice for school, kind of got them up and ready before the bus and walking them to their bus stops and having to run to mine and just making sure they know that I'm always going to be there. Like, it's hard.
The next several years, Shadrika moved from one temporary residence to another, group care facilities, and a series of foster homes. She never knew how long she would stay and always was prepared for the news that she'd be moving once again.
It was very confusing because I remember sometimes I'll be at one place for maybe a week and finally getting settled in, and then they'll move me right then and there, and then I'll get settled for another place in maybe another 6 months, and they'll move me again, and it was just, you never know where you're going to end up.
Unfortunately, in our own community, there are thousands of children on any given day who have been removed from their natural homes and are in and out of group and foster homes. It is a challenge on so many fronts to find them a place to live, even temporarily. Children like Shadrika get used to living from day to day. They're afraid to form attachments, not knowing how long they will stay at any one place.
Didn't really try to interact because you knew any time, any moment in time that you would be leaving. So this is kind of how our attitudes were. We didn't know really what to do. We was just didn't have emotions, didn't really express how we felt.
Shadrika had her fears, but she also had qualities that lifted her above them. She had determination, and she had hope. It wasn't easy for her, but she did her best. And finally, Shadrika was sent to a place that would help turn her young life around, a special place called Joshua House. At Joshua House, Shadrika finally came alive and started to thrive in so many ways. She was even chosen as Citizen of the Month at her school. Shadrika could have been resentful because she had no parents to come with her to the awards ceremony. Instead, she was overjoyed thanks to the support and love from Joshua House.
Out of all the places I stayed, Joshua House was my most favorite because it was just we always had something to do. I just loved it when I was there. I didn't want to leave.
Joshua House helps Shadrika in so many ways.
I really liked going to therapy. That was just my time. I could talk for days, and I just really opened up in therapy, and that kind of helped me get through all the stuff that I was getting through, and they let me know that it was okay for me to be a little kid.
But perhaps the most important thing of all is that Joshua House put her in the path of a woman who could change her life, Lauren Smith. Lauren was working at Joshua House when she first met Shadrika.
In 1999, I went to work for the Children's Home Society, and they had a little crisis on the campus with no staff, and we went to work in the houses to help them out. And at that time, I met Shadrika. She and her 2 siblings were living there. She was 7.
Lauren was exceptional in a field that attracts caring people. She had a heart that knew no boundaries.
At the age of 19, I went to work in an internship in New York in the social service agency, and one day one of the workers said to me, "Have you ever considered adopting?" And I said, "Absolutely, always wanted to adopt my first and last child." And she said, "Well, fill out the paperwork, because in New York there's a 7-year waiting list for a child under the age of 5, and just fill it out," never realizing that they had a child in mind. And so 2 weeks later, we had a 2.5-year-old. I had turned 20. So I think we thought, oh, we kind of like this thing. It works okay. But we really weren't interested in adding permanently to our family, and so we decided to become foster parents. And one day my husband had the nerve to walk in and say, "I've been thinking I'd really like to adopt a child through China." And I said, "I've really been thinking you might need a new wife because this one's tired and we have enough kids." He said, "No, I just really feel like there's one more kid." And I had that same feeling. So he said, "What do you think about China?" And I said, "Well, my issue with China is We already have 9 children. Why would we go halfway across the ocean, spend $25,000 to $30,000 when we've got kids in our own backyard that no one wants? And I said, we're already a multiracial family. What would you think about adopting a black boy, since they're very hard to place and often spend their lives in foster care? And he said, I think that's, I'll think about it, I'll pray about it. And 2 days later, he came back and he sat down and he said, I think you might be right. And the phone rang, and it was Joshua House. And it was some of the counselors there, and they said, we have a little boy who's 5 that really shouldn't be here because he's too young. Would you consider taking him? And I said, is he a black male? And they said, yes. And I said, I'm on my way.
Lauren just couldn't seem to say no when it came to a child in need of a loving home. But let's get back to Shadrika. She had never been adopted, and she was now 15, an age when it's very difficult to be placed in a permanent home. But she never gave up on her dream of a home of her own. When Lauren returned to Joshua House one day, they renewed their acquaintance, and Shadrika got an idea. She would ask Lauren to adopt her.
She handed me her card, and she's like, call me anytime. So I went home and I thought about it. I was like, hey, she said call her anytime. So maybe that means, I can move in with her. So I was like, what, I'll give it a try. It only helps to try.
Shadrika called out of the blue, said she had a weird question to ask me, and asked if we would consider adopting her because she very much wanted a family by the time she started high school. So I came home and said to my husband, what do you say? The courage it took to ask, and he said, I guess you tell her to move in. And so she did.
That was almost 2 years ago, and now Shadrika is a full-fledged member of the Smith family. She has also learned what it means to be part of a family.
It takes work, to build a family, and, they were willing to work with me, no matter what I did.
Lauren and her husband Thad have a truly blended family. As for Shadrika, she's thriving with hopes and dreams for the first time in her life.
There's a lot of things that I want to do in my future. I can't really count them on my fingers, but there just is. I know I want to do hair, cosmetology, and I'm probably going to school for that next year, my junior year. And then I want to go to school for nursing and probably a whole bunch of other stuff.
Shadrika is one of the lucky ones. She found her family. But none of this would have happened without Joshua House, a place where she got support, counseling, and the love she needed to have the courage to take the next step. If you believe in happy endings, then you believe in Joshua House, the next best thing to a real home for abused, abandoned, and neglected children in our community. Joshua House is truly special with its individualized care and attention, tutoring, and just plain fun in a family-type atmosphere. For the children of Joshua House, past and present, I'm Gail Sierens.